With two big potential matchups being discussed for WrestleMania 39 and more, this is Wrestling Up. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 1st. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Up and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. While Bad Bunny would make his return to pro wrestling for the Royal Rumble match, it was said this would be a one-off deal. Talking about his previous feud with the Star, The Miz told the Ring of Wrestling podcast that he knew he wanted to face Bad Bunny when he saw him training. I remember watching Bunny train, right? And I was watching him train and I was like, they're training him. They're giving him all the stuff. And I need to get in with him. I have to get in with him. So while he was training backstage, I would get in there with him. And I remember the first time I got in there with him, I didn't call anything. I literally got in, locked up, and just started having a match with him to see where he was. And honestly, he was training so hard before this, by the way, and I was like, I just need to get in there. I probably beat him up. Not beat him up, but put some heat on him. Did some things, and I was like, oh, this guy's going to be able to do something. And then he kept training and kept training and kept training and kept giving ideas that were like, not dumb ideas. Sometimes when people come in, they're like, well, I want to do this and this and this and this and this. It's like, slow down, buddy, alright? Not with him. He was smart. You could tell he was a fan and he knew psychology and why certain things were. Honestly, after we were done with that match, I was like, this guy can do anything. If he wants to maybe get an Oscar for acting, like, I think he can do it. If he wants to get Grammys, which he already has, and if he wants to do anything, I think he can do it. That's the dedication he puts in everything. His attention to detail was so great. He was just very impressive. I think the best compliment we got, John Morrison, he said that he watches that match back more than any concert he's ever done. The inaugural AEW Women's Champion Riho was set to be out of action due to injuries. Dave Meltzer confirmed this and gave details on Wrestling Observer Radio. She will be out 3 months, and that's the time frame. She got it in the Britt Baker match, and that was early in the match. That's a broken clavicle, and it's a super painful injury. The deal is, I don't know the spot, but I was told it was very early on in the match. She did the entire match. She never complained, but she must have been in incredible pain during that match. With Brock Lesnar hoping for a title unification bout against Roman Reigns, Dave Meltzer discussed the original plans for the Royal Rumble, which included some extra spots between the Beast and the recently returned Drew McIntyre. The deal with the Rumble was for Brock to murder everyone, and that was probably Brock's call. It was said to me that Brock was going to get exactly what he wanted, and that was to look as strong as possible for the Roman Reigns match. But the idea was to give Drew, everyone was supposed to get murdered by him, and they did, but they were going to do stuff with Drew. They did one thing with Drew, but they were running low on time and they had to rush to get off the air. Now Brock Lesnar is set to take part in the upcoming Elimination Chamber bout, where he'll have his chance to win back his WWE title from Bobby Lashley. Speaking of original plans, the initial ideas for the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns match at the Rumble was also revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio, with it said that the Seth match with Roman was changed several times too. Essentially, the original finish was that Roman Reigns was going to beat Seth Rollins, and I don't know what was going to happen from there. The whole gist of the Rumble show was that Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar is the big match of the year, and everything at the Rumble was to accentuate that as the big match of the year. So both had to look really, really strong. Vince changed the finish, was made to do all those chair shots at the end. Vince thought that was too much to do Seth Rollins to destroy him like that, which also led to the idea of Shane was really pushing for Rollins in the Rumble. But when he did that beatdown, the feeling was it would be really stupid for him to take that terrible beating and go into the Rumble. Following her release from WWE, Nia Jax talked to Renee Paquette recently about her busting open Becky Lynch with a stiff shot heading into Survivor Series in 2018. She explained what went down that night as she recalled. It was right before Survivor Series, where I think her and Ronda were going to have a singles. SmackDown was invading Raw. The producer of that match, won't name names, basically was like, "This needs to look real. Say sorry later." We were all like, okay, cool, let's go. Let's have fun, whatever. I continued to get punched in the back of my head, and I was like, good lord. So I just turned around and I really go to clear the person. My fist was not closed. I did not punch her intentionally, but it did connect. Was not even aware that it was Becky. I honestly thought it was Lana. During that same interview, Jax also touched on an offer she got from WWE to return for the Women's Royal Rumble, as she noted why she did not accept it. "I was in the middle of trying to get my stuff back. I had a bunch of crap. You know how it is. You're just shoving stuff in everybody's boxes. I'm in the middle of getting my stuff back. They sent me a box, and more than half was missing. I'm like, yo, what is going on? When I got the call, I thought it was about, where is my stuff? It's my homie in talent relations. Hey, we're just calling to see if you'd be interested in participating in the Royal Rumble." I started hysterically laughing. I thought it was my friend joking with me. "Oh, you're hilarious. Actually, this is an official call." "Oh, no, I'm not coming back. We'd like to offer you this." I said, "First of all, I'm still under my 90 days. You're still going to be paying me anyway, so you're not offering me anything." "No, I'm not coming back. Absolutely not." "Is this all it was?" "Yes." "Okay, bye." That's exactly what it was. They were accumulating a list. This is what I was told. They were accumulating a list and wanted to offer me the opportunity. Accumulate a list that they send to Vince, then Vince goes through the list and says who he wants and who he doesn't. I was like, you're asking me to be a part of a list to go to the next step? No. How much more can you shit on me? We didn't want her to feel left out. If I got around that she didn't get asked, we didn't want her to feel left out. You. That's such BS. You needed people, and I definitely nixed that. Despite being the inaugural Universal Champion, Finn Balor has not had the greatest time on the main roster of WWE. With reports claiming that Vince McMahon is done pushing him, Balor talked in My Love Letter to Wrestling about his return to NXT, saying he was burned out by backstage politics prior to that comeback. "I feel like I had got a bit stale and was kind of like, I was just tired. I was exhausted. I was kind of just worn out, dealing with the politics in the office and the writers and everything that goes with it. I just had enough. When I returned to NXT, I really feel like that rejuvenated me in the ring. One thing I feel that helped, and you know all the negative effects of the pandemic, taking the fans out of the equation in wrestling makes you kind of change the cadence and the tempo of the match. Because you're not trying to perform for a large audience, you're literally performing in a one-on-one environment. You can really work more on the details of the match. You're not so reliant on hearing that audible response from the crowd. So I would produce a match to get a yay or a boo or a holy shit. When you take that element out of it, you can get back to the nuts and bolts of what I actually learned in Hammerlock, of what I learned in Japan, and just gritty wrestling. I really feel that despite all the negative things that the pandemic brought us, it brought me that one positive thing, that I can get back to wrestling for me and the way I like to wrestle. It's now kind of finding that balance of how can I keep that art form of the way I like to wrestle in front of big crowds when you're on a limited time frame with TV wrestling. So it's trying to find that balance is going to be the most difficult thing. A report from PW Insider yesterday claimed that Matt Riddle was intended to be the original winner of the Men's Royal Rumble, with plans apparently being changed over the week many times until the decision was made to have Brock Lesnar win as a surprise. Now, Ringside News is saying this is not true, as they wrote that a report is going around saying that Matt Riddle was originally slated to win the 2022 Men's Royal Rumble match. We are told this is false. The creative team was told that Brock Lesnar was the winner 2 weeks prior to the Royal Rumble. It was never Riddle. While WrestleMania 38 is coming up this year, there are already plans being discussed about 2 big potential matchups for next year's Mania, with Ringside News reporting that on news of next year's WrestleMania, we are told that nothing is 100% locked in, but they are discussing 2 huge matches. Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch and The Rock versus Roman Reigns is currently being discussed for next year's WrestleMania show. On the topic of potential WrestleMania matchups for the upcoming Mania, it was apparently thought that Shane McMahon could take on Seth Rollins, yet these plans were apparently scrapped as Dave Meltzer reported. Shane McMahon was going to be in the chamber and set up a feud with Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. I don't know if that was going to be the WWE Championship match, but it's obviously, whether it is or it isn't, that was changed. So I don't know how that relates to Shane McMahon and WrestleMania, but this was supposed to be the step to that. After taking part in the Royal Rumble, Randy Orton was absent from Raw last night, as Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that Randy's short time in the Rumble match and subsequent absence from Raw could be telling about his booking. I thought it was really weird that Orton wasn't on TV, and also he was only in the Rumble in a couple of minutes too. I question why would Orton, who'd get the biggest pop in the show apart from the surprise pop for Ronda, why would he not be competing for long? In a match that didn't have a lot of heat, the crowd would have gone crazy for anything Randy Orton would have done, but he arrived late and was out quick. I thought that was really weird booking. Orton not being on the show, they did the whole thing last week with Orton not wanting to be in the scooter race. They kept promoting Otis in the scooter race, but all of a sudden it was dropped. Ringside News previously reported that WWE has already locked in their title match plans for WrestleMania, as they touched on a rumor regarding Shane McMahon. Let's address a rumor we heard about Shane McMahon's WrestleMania opponent. We heard Shane versus Bobby Lashley as a high possibility. A source cleared things up to say this was an idea floated around before day one. However, after day one, this idea was switched to something else. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.